Tube Tech students, I want to welcome you to something very exciting that I've been wanting to do for a while. Now that reactions are basically done on the channel, I am now able to put my efforts into something I really want to do, and that is just flex my narrative prowess. I love writing stories, and I've always been a fan of what ifs. Yes, I know, the cancerous part of the fandom or the cringe part of the fandom. I've always loved thought experiments like that, taking little things and tweaking them in order to make something beautiful. So I'm throwing my hat in the ring. But this is not just any other what if out there. This is officially partnered with the Dream Team. And when I say that to mean this will cross over with something that's happening over there. And while I won't reveal what that is yet, I ask you to look carefully. But don't take everything for fact. Think of it as another continuity of sorts. Tube Tech students, I would like to welcome you to another time, another place. Beat your ass with the Bible and hide it if God's watching.
Absolutely not.
You're such a drag. Come on, just one book. No one will even notice.
Wrong. I will. Look, this job is literally all I have. If I lose this, I have to go back to a normal 9 to 5.
Yeah, in any you want. Brandy, come on. This place is huge. I doubt you've seen all of it, so no one would blame you if one or two books went missing. Not that anything will happen to the book. Look, I'll just take one, read a few chapters to my class, and bring it back. Promise.
God damn it. You're lucky you're cute. Here, take this one.
Awesome! Thanks, B.
Please, do not mention it.
Our tale begins long before the beginning of the story you all are aware of. A doctor is being tasked with doing something no practitioner ever wishes to do: deliver bad news to parents. The doctor escorts two adults out of the room with their child, a small child with wavy blonde hair by the name of Helen.
I'm sorry, but Helen's result came back conclusive. She tested positive for NIDS.
The two parents gasp in unison. It couldn't be true. NIDS, or neuroimmune deficiency syndrome for the uninformed, is a disease that, unlike most common ailments, had appeared suddenly without any trace or warning. It was a disease that Gunn and the government had initially put a lot of funding into finding a cure for, but one day, all research was suddenly cut off. The reason as to why was hidden from the populace. It was simply filed away under incurable, but manageable. Oh my god. Please, tell me you aren't serious.
Deadly serious, I'm afraid. Almost as deadly as this would have been if we hadn't gotten this as soon as we had.
The doctor took a deep breath as he took in the worsening expression on the parents' faces. He could see that they were preparing for the worst.
There's no use being around the bush. She's never going to walk again.
The hospital halls were then filled with the mournful wails of a heartbroken mother. Helen heard her mother's cries and wondered to herself, what did she do wrong? Had she done something to make her mom upset with her? Did it have something to do with the weird tingling she felt in her spine? All she did know was that she hated seeing her mother be so upset. So as soon as she came back in the room, Helen would do the only thing she could: apologize. Big mistake. The second the words left her lips, her mother entered into a crying fit. She was hugging her and insisting that it wasn't her fault and that she'd always love her little Helen. This display was enough to bring the father and even the doctor to tears. Over the next couple of weeks, Helen was administered medications that helped the weird feeling in her spine go away. But this came at the cost of the feeling in her legs. It was a confusing process for her. It was something she knew that was happening, but just couldn't comprehend it. Every passing day, she felt less of her legs and more of the weight. But her legs weren't rotting away, quite the opposite. They seemed to be in perfect condition, just unable to be moved. As the days went on, Helen began to ask questions. Would she ever be normal again? Did she do something to deserve this? What would her friends think of her? Helen, sweetie, you have a visitor.
Hey, Helen, how are you feeling?
Helen looked up to the doorway and saw someone who made all her cloudy thoughts go away. Chris Thorndyke. Out of all of her friends, Chris was definitely her favorite. Not because he was unbelievably rich, but because he was unbelievably nice. He was always thinking about the well-being of others. That wasn't something that was common among kids their age. If there was something he could do for others, he would do his best to make sure that that deed was done.
Chris, I'm doing...
Helen turned to see her dad leaving the room to give them some privacy.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm scared. Confused. I think I'm angry. I'm feeling everything except these stupid legs.
Helen pounds on her legs as she says this on the verge of tears. Chris doesn't know how to respond. How could any 12-year-old know what to say in this situation? But he had to say something. So he just simply said the first thing that came to his mind. The truth.
I'm sorry, Helen. I wish I could do something to help, but I don't know what I could do. If it makes you feel any better, I still think you're really cool. No matter what happens, I'm always going to be there. That's what best friends do, right?
Helen stared at Chris for a second before smiling. It did make her feel better. After a few more weeks of testing and monitoring, Helen was finally discharged from the hospital. She was offered the hospital's most top-of-the-line wheelchair, but Chris had her covered. He talked to his parents, and they were able to hook her up with the country's most ideal motorized wheelchair, the Model SXS1, built to put full control of a person's movements back into their own hands. In that short amount of time, they even managed to make small adjustments to the manor to make it more accessible to Helen if she ever decided to come over. Ramps, elevators, etc. Ah, the joys of being cartoonishly rich. And Helen made good on the offer. As soon as she was discharged, she asked her parents if she could go over to the Thorndyke Manor for the night. Her parents actually thought this was a good idea. With her diagnosis, they both would have to work 3 times as hard to make the necessary income to accommodate her. That meant a few overnight shifts and possibly second jobs. And they couldn't leave her home alone. What if something happened? They would never forgive themselves. At least they knew there was ample staffing available at the Thorndyke Manor to keep her in good health and company. So they allowed her to go over, seemingly, whenever she wanted. Irresponsible? Maybe. But cut them some slack. The grief was doing a lot of the decision-making for them. One night, at one of the said sleepovers, the two of them were having quite the philosophical conversation. Or at least, as philosophical as two 12-year-olds could be.
So, have you talked to any of the other kids in our class?
No, not yet. But I'm sure my parents told the school, so other parents probably told their kids.
The room falls silent before Helen continues in a soft, sad voice.
I hope Danny and Francis still like me.
Why wouldn't they? You're still Helen.
She was still Helen. That was nice to hear. Even if she didn't believe it. Hopefully, one day, if Chris couldn't change her mind, she could meet someone who could. We cut to an all-too-familiar scene. Eggman laughs maniacally to himself as he prepares to place the final Chaos Emerald into his machine. For once in his life, even he's not sure if his plan will work. Eggman had been working tirelessly to discover what his grandfather's notes had meant. Sure, all he had to go off of was mad ramblings and scribbles about harnessing the Emerald's power and building the ultimate weapon. It would have been nice if Eggman's grandfather had left something more coherent in his absence, but it didn't matter to Eggman. He was a genius. He was sure he could figure it out.
Ho 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 ho! I finally done it! This machine should be strong enough to harness the boundless energy of the emeralds! After that, the ultimate weapon my grandfather wrote about should make itself known to me, and soon enough, the world!
It doesn't matter how many times you try, Dr. Eggman. Mr. Sonic will stop you.
Eggman turns to his prisoner and laughs in her face.
Oh, what's this? Still clinging on to little bits of hope, I see. Don't worry. We'll snuff that out in no time. Now hand over the chow!
Unbeknownst to the Bad Doctor, two parties were willing to get in his way. One in the form of a nosy bat positioned ever so slightly out of sight, keen on leaving with all 7 emeralds. The other was Sonic and his friends arriving on the scene to rescue their friends. Suddenly, alarms start blaring as Deco and Boko give Dr. Eggman frantic updates.
Dr. Eggman, Sonic has just made his way into the facility.
No way! I can't believe this!
Correction, Doctor. Sonic has made his way towards the main atrium. He'll be here any second.
Blue rodent! Let's see him handle this!
With the push of a button, Eggman launches a fleet of giant robots that catch Sonic off guard. He is quickly launched into the air and swatted out of the base. Luckily, Tails and Amy are around to make the save in the tornado. They shoot a power ring in Sonic's direction to give him a much-needed boost. Sonic, with this power-up, is able to make it back to the base and slam through Eggman's enemy forces like they were paper mache. Unfortunately, Tails and Amy fly too close to the combat and are caught in the crossfire. The tornado's right wing is shot, and the two begin to plummet toward a field of rocky formations. Thinking quickly, Amy jumps to the front of the plane wielding her trusty Pico Pico hammer and destroys any formation in their way. As she reels back to break the last formation, a spiked glove crashes through the mountain of rock, clearing the path for Amy and Tails to crash land safely. Or as safely as they can. They look up to find...
Knuckles, you made it!
Yeah, after I did most of the work. Thanks for the assist though, Knuckles.
Knuckles ignores both of their responses and keeps his eyes locked on Eggman's fortress.
Hey, Knuckles, what's going on? Even for you, this is oddly stoic.
The Master Emerald told me to come here. It's as if the emeralds are about to be used in a way that wasn't intended. It wants me to stop it, but I don't know how.
Try not to worry about it, Knuckles. Sonic is on his way into the base to stop Eggman now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm worried about. Back at Eggman's control room, the main doors are blasted off the walls as Sonic stands there triumphantly.
Game over, Eggman! Hand over Cream and the emeralds and we can call it a day!
Take the rabbit, I don't care! I just need the Chow to harness the full power of the emeralds! Then, with the push of this button, I'll be the undisputed ruler of this world!
Yeah, if you could push it before I grab it!
As Sonic says this, Eggman's last line of defense shows up behind Sonic.
I'd like to see you try!
Sonic then runs and jumps around the room, dodging a hailstorm of bullets. He hasn't had this much fun in quite a while. He's so busy having fun that he doesn't notice that he had tricked Eggman's robot into firing at the machine housing the Chaos Emeralds. While trying to save his own hide, Eggman accidentally pushed the button to activate the machine.
No! What have you done, you little...
Before Eggman could finish his sentence, a brilliant white light explodes from the machine, enveloping the room. But it doesn't stop there. The white light makes its way outside, engulfing everything around it. Tails and Amy are left speechless as Knuckles is hit with the sudden realization. That idiot! I don't know how he did it, but he somehow activated a technique long thought lost to time.
What? What are you talking about?
chaos control. As the group is enveloped by the white light, we cut to scenes that I'm sure many of YouTube tech students are aware of. Sonic waking up in a sea of light surrounded by weird, pink, fleshy humans that look somewhat similar to Eggman, him being chased by police and eventually Sam's speed, and him launching off an unfinished highway with a sonic boom. Yes, the classic setup for a grand adventure still takes place. The main difference here is that when Sonic lands in the Thorndike Manor pool, he wakes up 2 people instead of 1.
Chris!
Yeah, I heard. Stay here, I'll go check.
Helen, feeling like this was a jab at her recent crippling, adamantly refuses.
No way! I'm coming too. I'm not as frail as I look.
Chris, not wanting to stir the pot any more than he already had, helps her into her wheelchair and the 2 head downstairs. This extra time could have proven deadly to Sonic if Chris hadn't been as an adept at swimming as he was. Sonic is dragged out of the pool and begins to cough up all the water in his lungs.
Careful! Take it easy. Are you okay?
Yeah. I'm fine.
Whoa, you can talk?
Yeah. I can do a lot of things.
Well, if you can talk, surely you must have a name. I'm Helen, and this is my friend Chris.
Nice to meet ya. The name's Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog!
But that's all the time we have for this episode, Tube Tech students. I hope you'll come back next time, and I will see you another time, another place.